ब्रह्मनाथ। ओ शांति शांति शांति। स्वस्थ। Hello students, in the previous class we discussed about the gametogenesis, in which we discussed that the gametogenesis, it is the development of the sex cells such as the sperm and ova or egg in the gonads. We discussed that the gametogenesis is being stimulated by the follicle stimulating hormone or the FSH, and also the vitamin A and vitamin E is also necessary for the gametogenesis. Further, we discussed that in the case of the spermatogenesis, it is the development of the, we can say, the male sex cells such as the sperm in the testis, whereas the oogenesis is the development of the female sex cells such as the ova or egg in the ovary. So in this ways, the two ways the gametogenesis is being distinguished. One is the spermatogenesis, other is the oogenesis. Next, we discussed, or we started our long question, that is the spermatogenesis. We discussed that in the spermatogenesis it consists of two important phases. First is the formation of spermatid, second is the formation of spermatozoa, or that process is known as the spermiogenesis or the spermatoleiosis. Next, we discussed complete schematic diagram of the spermatogenesis, in which we discussed the formation of spermatid and also we discussed the spermiogenesis. Completely we have done the schematic diagram, okay, starting from the multiplication phase, growth phase, the maturation phase also, okay. Then we discussed the theory part of the formation of spermatid, in which we discussed that the seminiferous tubules are being lined by the germinal epithelium cells, and some of these germinal epithelium cells differentiate to form the primordial germ cells or the primary germ cells. These primary germ cells divide mitotically to form the large number of, we can say, the spermatogonia. So this much is your, we can say, the multiplication phase. After that, those spermatogonia absorbs large number of nutrients from the Sertoli cells, by which it becomes enlarges in size, okay, and now it is called as the primary spermatocyte. This is what about the growth phase. Then after that, the primary spermatocyte undergoes the maturation division. It undergoes the meiosis division, in which two successive division takes place. First one is the reductional division, in which from one primary spermatocyte two secondary spermatocyte forms, or we can say two haploid secondary spermatocyte forms. And after that, equational division takes place, in which from two, we can say, secondary spermatocyte, four haploid spermatids are being formed, okay. So that is the phase of the maturation phase. So this much we discussed in our previous class. Today students, we will discuss that how from the large immotile spermatid, how the, we can say, the motile sperm are being formed. So that is the process of the, we can say, spermiogenesis. So we can write our first point. It is the process by which the large, or we can say the spermatid, large immotile spermatid are being converted into motile sperm, okay. So we can write our first point. It is the process in which the large immotile spermatid are converted into motile sperm, or we can say motile spermatozoa, okay. and this process is known as the spermiogenesis or the spermatolysis. Next students, we will discuss what are the various changes that takes place by which we can say the large immotile spermatid is being converted into motile sperm. Let's discuss. Your first point will be the large nucleus, the large spherical nucleus of the spermatid gets contracted and loses its water, RNA, and finally it becomes spindle shaped structure. So we can write our first point. What are the changes takes place? So the large nucleus gets contracted and loses its water, RNA, and becomes spindle shaped Okay students, so this is your, we can say, your first change. Second change, the Golgi bodies which are present in the spermatid gets condensed to form a cap like structure that is called as the acrosome. Okay, we can write our next point. We can say the Golgi bodies gets condensed to form a cap like structure that is called as acrosome. Okay students, now the third change. The centrioles are being arranged one behind another to form the proximal centriole and the distal centriole. Your third changes is the centrioles gets arranged one behind another to form the proximal centriole and the distal centriole. To form the proximal centriole and distal centriole. Okay students, so this is your, we can say, the third change. Okay, fourth change is the mitochondria, which is you know, it is a cell organelle which is present in the spermatid, gets clumped together to form a single mitochondrial cord. You can see here in the diagram student, this red one is act as the single mitochondrial cord which coiled around the main axoneme or the axial filament. Okay, so we can write our next point that the mitochondria gets clumps together, gets clumps together to form a single coiled mitochondrial cord. So the mitochondria clumps together to form a single coiled mitochondrial cord. Okay, you can see here one single mitochondrial cord is present. No, means all the mitochondria, they clumps together to form a single mitochondrial cord which is coiled around the axoneme. This center part you can see, this is the axoneme or the axial filament. Okay students, next you can see this green color covering. Okay, so the cytoplasm of the spermatid forms a thin sheath or covering around the main parts or the body parts of the spermatozoa. Okay, so we can write our last point that the cytoplasm of the spermatid makes a thin sheath around the body parts of the spermatozoa Okay, students, but except the end piece of the tail, and that I will discuss in the structure of the sperm. So students, remember that what are the various changes takes place, and this all changes takes place, or we can say for the synthesis of the human sperm, it takes place about 76 days. Okay, I can write here, for the synthesis of human sperm, okay, this one I will write on the upper portion, it might be not visible to you. Okay, I'll write in the next slide, don't worry. See, so what I have written, it is the process in which the large immotile spermatid are converted into motile spermatozoa. First point. Okay, this is known as the spermiogenesis. So what are the changes that take place? Large nucleus of the spermatid gets contracted to form a spindle shaped structure, that is called as the spindle shaped nucleus structure, and though it loses its water RNA. Okay, second changes what takes place, the Golgi bodies gets condensed to form the cap like structure called the acrosome, which is present immediately above the nucleus. Then the centrioles are get arranged one behind another, that is called as the proximal centriole and the distal centriole. Okay, next, the mitochondria gets coiled around, or we can say gets clumped together to form a single or large coiled mitochondrial cord, which is coiled around the axonium or the axial filament. Okay, students, in the last changes, the cytoplasm of the spermatid covers, or we can say it converted into a thin sheath that covers all around the body part of the spermatozoa. Okay, so this much you write. Next, the synthesis, how many days it takes place, how much it can, how many times, or we can say how much time it can survive, I will write in the next slide. Okay, so this much please note down. Next, students, we will write the remaining point of the spermiogenesis. Students, we discussed up to the spermiogenesis first, means how the round, we can say immotile spermatid, it is being converted into motile sperm. So what the changes we discussed, how many time, or we can say how many days it takes place. The synthesis of human sperm takes place about 76 days. Okay, remember the synthesis of human sperm takes place about 76 days. Okay, and remember students, after the spermiogenesis, or we can say after the motile sperm or spermatozoa are being formed, the sperm heads get embedded on the, or we can say embedded on the Sertoli cells, and during the ejaculation, or we can say it is being released from the seminiferous tubules during the spermiation. Okay, so we can write our next point. So after the spermiogenesis, the sperm head gets embedded on the Sertoli cells, remember. Okay, and gets, or we can say and released and are released from the seminiferous tubules spermiation, during spermiation. Okay, easy. And once the sperm is being ejaculated, it can survive up to 48 hours in the female reproductive tract. Okay, once ejaculated, the sperm can survive up to 48 hours in the female reproductive tract. Okay, so these are the post changes, or we can say these are the post the happenings that takes place after the, we can say, the formation of the spermatozoa or the haploid sperm. What happens? First point, what are the changes that we have discussed, and also the process of the formation of spermatid, all this cumulatively, starting from the, we can say, the differentiation up to the primordial germ cells, up to the end of the means the end of the, we can say, the synthesis of the spermatozoa, it takes place completely 76 days. Okay, what happens after the spermiogenesis is being done on the spermatozoa, or the sperm are being formed? The sperm head, means this region, the sperm head gets embedded means it filled, or we can say rahijiba, means, or we can say embedded, simply we can say embedded on the Sertoli cells, and these sperms or the spermatozoa gets ejaculated or released from the seminiferous tubules during the process that is called the spermiation. And once it is being ejaculated into the female reproductive tract, it can survive up to 48 hours. That is why I have written, once ejaculated, the sperm or the spermatozoa, you can write whatever, sperm can survive up to 48 hours in the female reproductive tract. Okay, so this much is completely about your process, what the changes takes place in the case of the completely the spermatogenesis. First we discussed the formation of spermatid and then we discussed the formation of spermatozoa or the spermiogenesis, or we can also say it is the spermatoleiosis. Okay, now we'll discuss completely about the structure of the human sperm. Okay, please note down. Now students, we will discuss the complete structure of the human sperm. First point student, the human sperm is tiny and microscopic in structure, and we can say fully formed or fully developed spermatozoa consists of 4 distinct parts: head, neck, okay, neck, this one is your middle piece, and last one, this much is your, we can say, the tail. So let's write down the first point. Human sperm is tiny and microscopic structure. Okay, a fully developed, or we can simply say which consists of 4 distinct parts. Okay, such as the head, neck, middle piece and the tail, such as head, neck, the head, neck, the one second, head, neck, the middle piece and tail. Okay, remember? Okay, next, the head consists of the nucleus and the cap-like structure called the acrosome. The head consists of nucleus and acrosome. Okay, and acrosome. Okay, simply the head consists of the nucleus and the acrosome, and acrosome forms the cap-like structure, whereas the acrosome forms a cap like structure. Okay, the acrosome, next point, the acrosome consists of various proteolytic enzymes and the lysosomal enzymes popularly called as the sperm lysine. For example, hyaluronidase, corona pentatonic enzyme, zona lysine. Okay, so we can write our next point. Acrosome contains proteolytic enzymes, proteolytic or we can say proteolytic and lysosomal enzymes, proteolytic and lysosomal enzymes popularly called as sperm lysines. Okay, example, the hyaluronidase, then the corona penetrating enzyme, the zona lysine. Okay, and the zona lysine. Okay, so this acrosome or the cap-like structure consists of various proteolytic enzyme or the lysosomal enzyme. Popularly, these are called as sperm lysine. Examples, common example, the hyaluronidase, corona penetrating enzyme, zona lysine. This acrosome will eventually help the sperm head to enter into the, we can say, into the egg or penetrating the wall of the egg or the ova. Okay. Next, the nucleus consists of the chromosome, or we can say simply I have written the chromosomal material and the protein. The nucleus consists of chromosome, or we can simply write the chromosomal material and protein. Okay, so this is all about it, we can say the head part. Okay, you can simply see here the head consists of the spindle shape, the nucleus, and the cap-like structure that is called as the acrosome is also present. Okay, the nucleus consists of the packed DNA or the chromosomal material, simply we can say the chromosomal material it consists of. Okay, and also the DNA. The acrosome, which forms the cap-like structure, consists of various proteolytic enzyme or the lysosomal enzymes, okay, popularly called as the sperm lysine, such as the hyaluronidase, corona penetrating enzyme and the zona lysine. Okay, so lastly we have discussed the nucleus consists of the chromosomal material and the protein. Okay, next we will discuss from the neck to the tail region. Okay, students, please note down. So the next point we will discuss, student, after the head, you can write, we will discuss the neck portion. As we discussed that it consists of 4 distinct parts. One is the head, second is the neck, third is the middle piece, and 4 is the tail. Okay, students, so let's discuss now the neck region. You can, students, you can add one point in the head region. It is almost flat in structure and oval. Okay, you can also include one point, you just write one point, that the head is almost, we can say, flat and oval in structure. Okay, okay, I am writing also. You write head is, you can write head is almost oval, head is almost flat and oval in structure. Okay, you add this point in the head region. Okay, so that I can erase it. Okay, written, I am erasing it. Okay, I am erasing. Okay, so let's discuss the middle piece. Okay, so, sorry, the neck region. You can see, students, the neck, it is the region between the head and the middle piece, and consist of the centrioles one behind another, or arrange the centrioles one behind another. One is the proximal centriole and other one is the distal centriole. So we can write our next point, that the neck is the region in between the head and middle piece, in which two centrioles are arranged one behind another. Okay, such as the proximal centriole and the distal centriole. Such as the proximal centriole and the distal centriole. Okay, students. So this is for the neck region. Then you can see this is the middle piece. Students, in the middle piece, it consists of the compact mass of the mitochondria, or we can say simply the mitochondria are clumped together, which forms a single mitochondrial cord, which is coiled around the axoneme or the axial filament. So we can write our next point. The middle piece consists of compact mass of mitochondria, which supply energy during the movement of the sperm, which supply energy during the movement of the sperm. Okay, students, means the sperm is moving, means it also requires some sort of energy, or we can say for swimming, or we can say for the movement, the spermatozoa or sperm requires energy. Yes, that energy source is the mitochondria. You can see clearly here, students, these are the mitochondria, which we can say it is being coiled around the axoneme or the axial filament. Okay, you can write also one more point. The mitochondria, okay, here the mitochondria clumps together to form a single mitochondrial cord, which coiled around the axoneme or the axial filament. Here, or simply we can write, in the middle piece, a single coiled mitochondrial cord is present, which is coiled around the axoneme or axial filament. Okay, this one is mitochondrial. Okay, mitochondrial. Okay, you can see this one, the center one is your, we can say, the axoneme or the axial filament. Okay, it surround or coiled, okay, forming a single mitochondrial coiled cord, or we can say single coiled mitochondrial cord. Okay, so this much is the function of the mitochondria is to provide energy for the swimming, or we can say for the movement of the sperm. Lastly, students, the tail is the elongated filament. Okay, elongated filament, which consists of two main parts. This one is your, we can say, the main piece. This, which one? This one is your main piece. okay, of the tail, whereas this one is your end piece of the tail. This one is your, we can say, the end piece of the tail, okay. This one is your main piece and this one is the end piece. So the tail is elongated filament consisting of the main piece and the end piece, okay. The main piece and the end piece. Or if we will go, how you can recognize which one is your main piece, which is your end piece. Main piece means the cytoplasmic covering is present, end piece means cytoplasmic covering is absent. I will write down this in the bracket, okay. Main piece means, in bracket I am writing, cytoplasmic covering is present, okay. And the end piece means the cytoplasmic covering is absent. And the end piece means cytoplasmic covering is absent. Or I will write here, you might be not visible there, okay. I am writing here, okay, it might be not visible to you. Okay, end piece means the cytoplasmic covering is absent, okay, as being covering absent, okay. See, the tail is elongated filament consisting of the main piece, means from here to here it is the main piece, and in which the cytoplasmic covering is present. You can see the covering, the thin sheet, cytoplasmic covering present, and the end piece means the cytoplasmic covering is absent. You can see here, this is the end piece where only the axoneme or the axial filament is present. How you can know which is one is main piece, which is one is end piece? Main piece means you can clearly see the axial or the axoneme, it is being covered by a thin sheath or the cytoplasmic covering. That is the main piece. Here only axoneme or the axial filament is present. That is why it is called as the end piece, in which no cytoplasmic covering is there. Okay, students. So this much is about your structure of the human sperm. What we have discussed? So head region we have completely discussed. Neck is the region in between the we can say the head and the middle piece. Consists of the two centrioles arranged one behind another, proximal centriole and the distal centriole. Okay, students. This one is your first region, second, third, fourth. Okay. Next, we discuss the middle piece consists of the compact mass that is called the mitochondria, which supply the energy during the movement of the sperm. And also, we can also say in middle piece a single coiled mitochondrial cord is present, which is coiled around the axoneme or the axial filament. And lastly, the tail is the elongated part of the, we can say, the filament, which consists of two main parts. One is your main piece, other one is your end piece. Main piece means the cytoplasmic covering is present. Okay. End piece means cytoplasmic covering is absent. Okay, students, please note down. Now, students, come to two important terms. One is your menchet, another one is your Nebenker. Menchet means what? Menchet. Menchet means you can say that a temporary collar band, or we can say band of microtubules around the nucleus, or simply we can say the head. It is known as the menchet. So we can say it is a temporary collar band or band of microtubules, okay, around the microtubules around the nucleus, simply around the nucleus, around the nucleus. Okay, so what it means actually? Simply you can say, students, suppose you can see here, it resembles like a spoon like structure, okay, having the head region and the middle piece in the tail. For some, during the synthesis of the human sperm, for sometimes what happens, the microtubules, which are the various organelles, what happens, it forms a surrounding, or we can say it is present temporary collar like structure just behind the nucleus, or we can say just behind the head region. Means suppose this one is your head region and this one is your middle piece, then it surround this black one, you can see this black one you can see it assume as the collar or the temporary collar band. Its main function is to give the proper shape to the human sperm or the developing human spermatozoa. Okay. Another term is, students, there it is called as the Nabhan curve. Nabhan curve. Nabhan curve means, you can see here, it is the helical mitochondrial sheath surrounding the axoneme or the axial filament. This helical mitochondrial sheath, the structure is nothing but about the Nabhan curve. So we can write Nabhan curve. It is the helical mitochondrial sheath, means covering, sheath surrounding the axoneme or the axial filament okay. Means this pattern of the mitochondria by which it is formed the coiled like structure which coiled around the axoneme or the axial filament, this structure is nothing but as the Nabhan curve. Okay, remember, Manchette means it is a temporary collar band, or we can say the band of microtubules is present behind the nucleus, which during the initial stages of the formation of the sperm, by which it gives the proper shape to the sperm. And the Nabhan curve means it is the helical mitochondrial sheath that surrounds the axoneme, that is known as the Nabhan curve. Okay. Now let's come to the hormonal control, the last part, that is your hormonal control of the spermatogenesis. So this all you have to write, students, okay, in the spermatogenesis long question. You should write all these portions. Lastly, the hormonal control of spermatogenesis. Okay. So students, remember, the spermatogenesis begins at the maturity, by which the hypothalamus secretes the gonadotrophic releasing hormone, or the GnRH, you know. After the releasing of the gonadotrophic releasing hormone, they stimulate the anterior pituitary gland, okay, to secrete the LH, or the, we can say, the luteinizing hormone, and also the FH, or we can say the follicle stimulating hormone. Okay, so let's write down. I am doing the schematic form. Okay, the hypothalamus, okay, the hypothalamus, these secretes the gonadotrophic releasing hormone, which further stimulate the anterior pituitary gland, or the anterior pituitary gland, okay, to secrete the FSH and the LH, whereas the LH stimulate the Leydig cells, okay, to form or to secrete the testosterone, whereas the FSH helps in the secretion of the, we can say, the androgen binding protein, the anti-Mullerian hormone, and the inhibin. The androgen binding protein or the ABP simply you can write, then the anti-Mullerian hormone, okay, and the inhibin, okay, and the inhibin, okay. You know testosterone, what it does, it simply controls the secondary sexual characters in the case of the male, and also it helps in the formation of the sperm, or we can also say it stimulates the spermatogenesis. It stimulate the spermatogenesis, okay. Whereas the androgen binding protein, what it does, it simply helps in increasing the concentration of the testosterone in the case of the testis, okay. What it does, androgen binding protein, it binds to the testosterone, by which it helps in increasing the concentration of testosterone in the case of the testis, okay, in the testis. Anti-Mullerian hormone, you know already, anti-Mullerian hormone, it helps in the descending down of the, we can say, the testis in the scrotal sac, okay. And the inhibin, you know, it helps in checking the overactivity of the FSH. If the amount of the secretion of the follicle stimulating hormone is more, then it will eventually help in reducing or check the overactivity of the FSH or the follicle stimulating hormone, okay. And also this one is your, we can say, it helps in the feedback process, okay. What is the positive feedback, what is the negative feedback? Remember, if the amount of testosterone is in optimum condition, then it sends the negative feedback, means no secretion is being required. If the testosterone amount is, we can say, it is the optimum amount of testosterone is not present, then it will send a positive feedback, by which it will help in the secretion. Whereas in the case of the here also, the inhibin also, if the amount of the inhibin is optimum, then it will send a negative feedback, by which the secretion will be stopped. If the inhibin secretion is not in the optimum condition, then it will send a positive feedback, by which the following secretion will be take place. So if the secretion is required, then they will send a positive feedback. If the secretion is not required, or we can say, if the secretion is required, it will send a positive feedback, means it will start synthesizing or secreting. If these hormones, or we can say testosterone or inhibin or the anti-Mullerian hormone or the androgen binding protein, these are in the optimum condition and no secretion is required, then it will send a negative feedback. Always remember, if the secretion is required, then it will send a positive feedback. If the secretion is not required, it will send a negative feedback. Okay students, so this much is all about your hormonal control of spermatogenesis. Lastly, we will discuss the theory part of the hormonal control of spermatogenesis. Okay, please note down. Students, you can add just here one more point, that it stimulates the Sertoli cells. Just add here one more point, that it stimulates the Sertoli cells. It stimulates the Sertoli cells, okay, Sertoli cells to secrete the androgen binding protein, anti-Mullerian hormone and the inhibin. As we have discussed here, the luteinizing hormone stimulates the Leydig cell to secrete the testosterone. Here the FSH stimulates the Sertoli cells to secrete the androgen binding protein, anti-Mullerian hormone and the inhibin. Okay, please note down. So lastly students, the theory part of the hormonal control of spermatogenesis. As I have said you, whenever the spermatogenesis begins at the time of the maturation, okay, the spermatogenesis begins at the time of the maturation due to secretion of the gonadotropin releasing hormone, that is the GnRH, by the hypothalamus, okay. Then it means this hormone stimulates the, we can say, the pituitary gland to secrete the FSH or the follicle stimulating hormone and the LH or the luteinizing hormone, okay. The luteinizing hormone stimulates the Leydig cells. Luteinizing hormone or the LH stimulates the Leydig cells to secrete the testosterone, which helps in developing the secondary sexual character in the case of the male, and also eventually it helps in the formation of the sperm, or we can say it stimulates the spermatogenesis process. Whereas the FSH or the follicle stimulating hormone, it stimulates the Sertoli cells to produce the androgen binding protein, which binds to the testosterone, and it helps in the increasing the concentration of the testosterone in the testis, or we can also say in the seminiferous tubules. And also we discussed that the anti-mullary hormone, it helps in descending down the testis during into the scrotal sac, and also inhibin, it helps in the overactivity of the FSH, or we can say the follicle stimulating hormone. So students, this much is completely about your spermatogenesis long question, in which we discussed the introduction part, then we discussed the complete phases, the schematic form, the schematic diagram, structure of the human sperm, and lastly the hormonal control of the spermatogenesis. So that's all for today. We will meet in our next class. Thank you.